Hey everyone, Robert Silver here. After many years of creating good and very bad photos, I'm happy to say that I hear more than ever how people enjoy the body of work I create, share on social media, and showcase on my website. To be honest, there are only a few things that separate me from an amateur photographer. In this video, I want to explain what I think is the difference between an amateur and a professional portrait photographer. Now, these things I'm about to mention, I think can be applied to any genre of photography or even as a videographer, or really, I'm going to just say any artist really out there. So the first thing I think that separates an amateur from a professional photographer is consistency. It's not really about getting a shot, because I've seen plenty of times where an emerging photographer with the least expensive gear can pull off and happens to get that awesome, amazing shot that even I'm impressed with. But the real difference is the level of consistency that a professional can deliver for a client or even just for themselves for fun, is that they can nail it a lot more consistently because of their understanding of composition, lighting, the gear they're using, etc. So they're able to repeat such a great photo over and over and time again. And what that consistency means is that in order for them to get that awesome shot, they only need to do it they need to take a lot less photos than an amateur would to try to replicate that great shot that they took. Professional photographer can work backwards, meaning they can look at that photo and perhaps recall certain settings in order to get it just by looking at the photo, and therefore will only need to take that many less photos to replicate that photo once again. So I think consistency has been the one thing that I've seen throughout the years that separates the two. Another way that I've noticed what separates an amateur from a professional photographer is how they can creatively apply the compositional rules. Many times, amateurs have no clue what compositional rules are and what they mean to photography. And not only that, how to apply them. A professional not only knows and understands at least the fundamental compositional rules, but also how to bend and break them and use it to their creative advantage. And I think that is a huge difference between the two. That really separates it, is how creatively do they apply the compositional rules. And I've often noticed that the professional photographers not only apply it, but bend it and actually create their own voice through applying the composition that they are using at that moment. Street photographers are great at it. Obviously, portrait photographers for sure when it comes to like fashion editorial. And there are a million other ways. Even if you're just a casual travel photographer or an enthusiast, how you apply the compositional rules is really telling me whether you're able to tell me what your voice is, if you have that eye. And a lot of times when I notice when people give me the compliment of, wow, you have an eye for photography, I really feel, and this could be just my opinion, that they're enjoying how I'm applying compositional rules throughout my photos. Because the compositional rule, like you applying effective composition in your framing of your subject or in your work or whatnot, it's really the subliminal language of photography. I have a full video about why composition matters, and for you to go press that card up above, you can watch it yourself. But composition is king. It really is. It tells me you know what you're doing. You don't need special lighting for it. You don't need special gear for it. You can apply any of the rules with just a cell phone, but it really tells me that you're really trying to harness your own photographic voice, your own creative voice through your work when you're not only applying, but trying to experiment with the compositional rules. Again, I think that's what truly separates an amateur from a professional, is how their ability to not only understand, but how to creatively apply the compositional rules. Another difference between an amateur and a professional photographer is their understanding on how to use and manipulate artificial and natural ambient lighting. some people may argue with me. Feel free, post a comment down below. I would love to hear your perspective. But honestly, I think what separates the girls from the ladies and the boys from the men is their ability to not only how do you create a great portrait in natural ambient lighting, but also with artificial lighting, meaning whether it be LED or flash or like monolights, using monolights. Being stuck in one particular bubble, that's one thing I noticed with amateurs, since obviously when you start out in photography, you have a camera, maybe a lens or two, any camera or lens or two, right? And the only lighting you have is the natural ambient lighting in the scene of your portrait. So that's obvious that we all start from there. Okay. That's our zero, which is whatever light you have available is the light you're going to work with. But as photographers progress and they get more understanding of their style, their voice, perhaps some compositional rules and how to apply it, and they get more comfortable behind the lens directing their subjects, they stay stuck in just natural ambient lighting. Now, I'm not saying if that's your style, I'm not saying that's bad. That's awesome. But I'm just saying as a photographer, you should be able to flick on a switch if need be and pull out, let's say, a flash if need be for a different aesthetic for that portrait. I don't think one light is equal for everyone or should be applied to everyone, meaning natural light looks good on everybody. It doesn't fit every scene. It doesn't fit every moment. It just doesn't work that way. First of all, the light shifts throughout the day. Therefore, how the sun is hitting your subject and how it looks and complements your subject changes dramatically from 12 to 2 p.m. to a 4 to 6 p.m. You can compensate and work with the lighting by adding perhaps additional artificial lighting, let's say a flash to fill in shadows and stuff like that. It doesn't have to be the end of your shoot because you're shooting at 1 p.m. But understanding both methods and how they can work for you can really make you shine and be that much more flexible and thus that more accommodating for the challenges you may face as a photographer. You sometimes don't always have the pleasure of shooting at golden hour. Well, how about not shooting at golden hour like everybody else does on Google Images, Pinterest, Instagram, and on YouTube? But being so confined where you almost hold your nose up at the art of learning flash photography is silly. Flash photography for me was the moment in which I began to truly understand how to use light, understanding the power of light. And when I turn it up a full stop or down a full stop, what does it do? Inverse square law is another great law that I learned to better use and manipulate light. Changing the modifiers on my monolight in the studio or on location, what does it do to the light? How does that manipulation of light interact with my subject? Not one modifier works for every subject. Some are very more flexible than others, but it does give you different characteristics, and some work better for one subject and may not work really well for another. Working with artificial lighting, let's say a flash, has really helped me to better understand lighting. And when I'm only shooting in a natural lit setting, let's say just outdoor or working with window light, now I have a greater understanding of lighting in general, and therefore I can pose and move my subject, maybe add a shoot through a reflector to soften the light. I have better understanding of how to manipulate and make light work for me versus me working around light. And that's half the battle of a photographer. I spend more time setting up than actually shooting the headshot because I am making light work for me. I am in charge. And that's the way I approach my lighting, whether it be indoor, using artificial lighting like a flash, or outside. I'm constantly thinking, how do I stay in control of the lighting? And I think amateur photographers too often become too comfortable with just our natural lighting, because that's the first lighting they know. It's very comfortable. They got a few great shots off of using it, and then therefore they're stuck in that bubble. I'm saying take the risk. Grab just one light. All you need is one good light. You can make an entire career off of one good flash. Okay? Get an umbrella, which is 15, 20 bucks, and just start playing with what you can do. You don't have to stop using natural lighting, but I'm telling you, your natural lit portraits, or at least when you're using ambient lighting, let's say at a park, and then if you fill in just a little pop of artificial lighting, can really make your portraits sing. But you're going to have to understand how to balance the two lighting, in which you can get good ambient lighting in the background without blowing it out, but yet popping them in the front as a key light with the artificial lighting. Now that's going to take practice, and that takes time. And I think a lot of people are when they're amateurs, are intimidated with the process of learning the power of both kind of lighting. And when you have that, then now you're a two-gun slinging photographer. You're ready to go at it. But right now, you're almost walking into a gunfight with one arm tied behind your back. That's how I feel. I think, honestly, that is one of the biggest things I've noticed that separates an amateur and a professional photographer. A professional photographer also has a well-defined eye for a good shot. Now, when I mean a well-defined eye, it's that, I'm going to say level of consistency that their work delivers, that not only speaks for, that's not only aesthetic for a client or for themselves or whoever, but also creatively separates them from the next photographer. They have a particular voice, a stylist, an aesthetic that they create, whether it be through not only the lighting and initial photo, but also in post-production, that separates them from the rest of the pack. I think that is one of the things you will begin to see, that the difference between an amateur and a professional is that level of consistency because of their well-defined eye for a good shot. This may not seem like a lot, but honestly, a professional photographer knows and understands how to work well under pressure and meet deadlines. This is a constant, matter of fact, this is about as normal as batteries in a camera. Like, the two can't be separated. A professional just works really well under pressure. And for myself, I actually thrive under pressure. I like it. I don't know why. And I think a lot of professional photographers can agree with me. But when we have multiple projects and they're all due sometimes the same damn week, we just focus. We're like an eagle. We just focus on that task at hand to knock these out and to over deliver. And what I mean by over deliver is like, on average, I'll say, okay, you're going to get your headshots back in a week, but then they get those photos back in 4 days. There's something about just getting that, wow, you're quick, these look great, is so self-satisfying. For me as a professional, this is my profession. Okay, this is how I eat, this is how I pay rent, this is how I do whatever it is I do. It's through for the work that I get from photography and my video work. I have to understand that the pressure comes with the business, and it's actually very normal. If you're not under pressure, quite honestly, you're not working hard enough. There's always going to be a deadline, whether it be your free shoots that you're doing for social media content and collaborations with models, etc., or for your paid clients. Deadlines are deadlines are deadlines, and you live by your word in this business. So whether I'm shooting for free and I'm just want to collab on doing some creative headshots for a model, if I tell her your photos are going to be ready in 5 days, they should be ready in 3 or 4, and at the very worst, that 5th day. Keep your word, because your reputation is your everything, and that gets you a lot of gigs. That can make or break whether you get that next gig. That model is going to go off and be your best advocate for you and all of her friends or guy friends or whoever friends that need headshots. You're going to be on the tip of her tongue versus, hey, this guy I waited 2 months for my photos, or he didn't give me all of them, or he was a pain in the butt to work with, etc., etc. The ability to work really well under pressure is a phenomenal must, especially as a professional. And if you're an amateur already having that mindset, you're going to get to where you got to go that much quicker. And the ability to meet deadlines, that is it. The deadline situation is an absolute must. You must make your projects a priority. That's why I love deadlines, because it puts a little fire underneath my butt to get things done. And plus, a lot of times I like deadlines because I know that once I crush that deadline, I can move to the projects I really want to work on and have fun with, because not all of my work is paid. Half of it is also things I'm doing for marketing purposes, meaning social media or YouTube or TikTok or whatever the case may be. So it's a mixture of things, but a lot of times those are the fun, cool projects. But I have to remember that my clients are priority and that they have particular deadlines. They need photos for whatever they need to use it for. And I need to crush that so I can get to the things I really want to get to. Traits you'll notice between an amateur and a professional photographer is being able to work consistently under pressure and meeting those deadlines. Now, don't put this too much on amateur photographers, because you folks are just starting out, getting used to your camera gear. Perhaps now after this video, looking up what compositional rules are and how you can apply them to your photos. So I absolutely get it, but a professional photographer has a clearly defined body of work. They have a great portfolio that clearly shares and tells the world easily what kind of work they do and what their creative voice is. Amateur photographers, I recommend finding what that voice is, because first, what genre speaks to you the most? If it's landscape or street or weddings and events or portraits, whatever. Dogs, if that's your specialty, like pets. Mazel tov, do whatever it is that you feel best, because that's going to first help dictate what gear you're going to get. LED versus flash, natural light versus artificial, zoom lenses versus primes, mid zoom, long focal, telephoto lenses. That's all going to be dictated around the genre and style of photography you like. After a while of shooting, you're going to notice that you're going to have a clearly defined portfolio, or at least that should be your goal. And what I mean by that is that if you show your portfolio to the world, people could easily know what kind of work it is you do. If you got a little bit of this and a little bit of that and a little bit of this and my dog's birthday and my trip to Yosemite and a model here and this thing there, that is confusion. That is the number one sign on your website that tells me you don't know what the hell you like doing. A specialist gets paid more. Someone who is more specialized in, let's say, beauty work, beauty photography, cosmetics, etc., is going to get paid a lot more than someone who does weddings and some portraits, right? Family portraits. And then, I want to shoot some beauty makeup. I guarantee you that, because they've worked on that craft. They've chiseled down that segment of photography down to a fine art. It is what they specialize in. Lindsay Adler is a great example of that. There's just no way you don't know she doesn't do beauty work. Look at her body of work and look at the detail, the lighting, the creativity, her approach. It obviously tells you that's what she does. It's not just some whim that she came up with and it happened to work out. Every time I see a beginning photographer's portfolio, ergo their website, I could immediately tell whether they're new or not to the game by the clutterness of different kinds of photos. Really narrow it down. On my website, I do portraits. That's just what I do. So I have headshots in lifestyle portraits. I have fashion and beauty work. And then I have weddings. I shoot people. You're not going to see dogs, kittens. You're not going to see Yosemite. You're not going to see any of my hiking photos, which I absolutely enjoy, but I keep an entirely different separate Instagram profile just for that travel stuff, just for that hiking and whatnot. But that has nothing to do with my business, has nothing to do with what it is to the services I offer my clients. And therefore, you need to be very well focused. Otherwise, your clients have no clue that you're an actual professional. Now, I'm not saying become a one-trick pony. You absolutely can. If headshots are your thing and you're fucking phenomenal at it, go hard, go for it, do just that. Be the best headshot photographer out there. Can anyone say Peter Hurley made an entire career off of headshots? But if you go to his portfolio, you clearly know what it is he offers and what he's good at. It's just that simple. And that's what these are the certain things I've noticed when I look at photographers who are far better than I am. Consistently, I can look at their body work and know off top without them telling me what it is, what kind of photography they enjoy doing and what services they offer. So hopefully over time, this is going to be a workout for you as an amateur. But I hope you keep that mindset in mind that when you look at your body of work, or rather when they look at your body of work and they're scrolling through your website or Instagram, they know immediately what it is you specialize in and why they should be contacting you as a professional. I wanted to share the differences so that emerging photographers could concentrate on what they need to work on in order for their work to get to the next level, as well as better be able to tell the world what makes the difference between them and the other guys and gals with cameras. Notice not one time did I mention any type of brand of camera you need to own. I'm sure there are more opinions that others may have that separates an amateur and a professional photographer. These are just a few things that I've noticed over the years that I see what separates the two. I would love to hear your thoughts about it. Please post your comments and complaints down below. If you like this video and you would like to see more, don't forget to press that like, share, subscribe, and of course, hit that bell icon to get notifications of upcoming videos. I'm Robert Silver, and until next time, keep shooting and stay creative.